For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open. The eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed. The head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward. The gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple. All you sow, you reap. The soul of truth is flaming. The heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
The island's police commissioner is adamant that there isn't any political interference in the operations of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Remember, an individual who had political aspirations, and of course will be focusing on the Sovereign Wealth Fund. During the second segment of the broadcast, we are scheduled to have a guest. This is the most monitored talk show in the world, and it is called NewsSpin. It is aired on Power 97.9 FM. The broadcast is also on the NewsSpin Facebook page, as well as the NewsSpin YouTube channel. My name is Timothy Poleon. Coming up, your calls at 452-2979, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026. And Amanda will be going through some of the comments in the chat room. I want to share a quote with you. Not that pleasant, not that palatable, but I'd like to share it with you. Just stumbled upon it during the course of today whilst preparing for today's program. And it says, politicians and dappers have one thing in common. They should both be changed regularly and for the same reason. Politicians and dappers have one thing in common. They should both be changed regularly and for the same reason. Maybe what? Because they're full of something? So talking about politicians, you know, Dr. Kenny Anthony, and we've been playing in that at the commencement of the program for a few years now, says that never be surprised as far as politics is concerned. We are paraphrasing. And what they do and what they say and how they can change their minds overnight. Now they convince you that they believe in a particular philosophy and a political party and a leader, and they will not change their allegiance. They're committed to this particular cause and this party and the symbol and the color, red, yellow. And you foolishly buy into that. You hacks of one party or the other. You do not even give yourself the space to maneuver, the breathing space to say to yourself that you have the right to change your mind on the basis of the performance or the lack of performance of a political party or a candidate. You are steadfast in your support for a candidate irrespective of whether they have failed you or not. So it was 8 years ago, whilst on the hustings, just before the 2016 general election, Mr. Stevenson King, very energetic, ebullient, and he coined this phrase about your pair. And he also made an assurance to the supporters of the United Workers' Party.
There are rumors around in which it is being said that don't worry with Stevenson King. After the election, he will cross the floor. When they tell you that, I want you to tell them that this king is not about to cross anywhere. There are rumors around in which it is being said that don't worry with Stevenson King. After the election, he will cross the floor. When they tell you that, I want you to tell them that this king is not about to cross anywhere.
He did cross. Very guilefully. He is a so-called patriot, and he is part of the St. Lucia Labour Party administration. Senior minister in an SLP government. You ever thought this would have ever happened? Minister with responsibility for infrastructure. And during this rally of the SLP over the weekend in Anstler, the political leader, Mr. Philip J. Pierre, was full of praise for Mr. King and also Richard Frederick, two so-called independent MPs. Now think of this. Mr. Philip J. Pierre stressed that those guys did something remarkable by winning their seats as independents. But he never said that they were accommodated. The SLP did not field candidates in neither Castries North and Castries Central. So in effect, those two gentlemen were candidates of the St. Lucia Labour Party. Now the history books will, the history will not clearly spell this out. It will only indicate or state that they won as independent MPs, but they were facilitated. It was an accommodation. Let us listen to the same Mr. King talking about economic growth, talking about misleading stats, and this time he's criticizing the St. Lucia Labour Party because, you know, it's all about growth and growth and growth in the economy and growth. And what about your own development? There's something called Human Development Index, how you feel, the quality of health care, the housing, whether you feel safe in your country. Let's listen to Mr. King again 8 years ago.
Too often, the Labour Party seem to use statistics to make you believe that things are better. And I've said to you, the statistics are good. The statistics are good. But you must say one thing. When they say to you that the economy has grown, you must push your hand in your pocket, and if when you pull it out you find anything or nothing, then you will determine how much it has grown. For you here, I know that over the last 4 years, every time you push your hand in your pocket, you find nothing in your pocket. And the only reason you find nothing in your pocket is because Kenny Anthony and the government has been pushing their hands in your pocket to take your money for themselves. Every time you turn around, their hands are in your pocket. Be it vets, be it driver's license, be it whatever license it is. Every time they get a chance, their hands in your pocket and saying it is taxes. Too often, the Labour Party seem to use statistics to make you believe that things are better. And I've said to you, the statistics are good. The statistics are good. But you must say one thing. When they say to you that the economy has grown, you must push your hand in your pocket, and if when you pull it out you find anything or nothing, then you will determine how much it has grown. For you here, I know that over the last 4 years, every time you push your hand in your pocket, you find nothing in your pocket. And the only reason you find nothing in your pocket is because Kenny Anthony and the government has been pushing their hands in your pocket to take your money for themselves. Every time you turn around, their hands are in your pocket. Be it vets, be it driver's license, be it whatever license it is. Every time they get a chance, their hands in your pocket and saying it is taxes.
What would Mr. King be saying today? If I were to ask him the question, what do you think about the fact that the SLP is saying that they've recorded growth year after year? What say you to this, Mr. King? Are you of a different mindset with regard to the St. Lucia Labour Party administration or any other administration for that matter, using statistics to mislead the people, to tell them that automatically, if you record economic growth, this translates to your own personal development? Let's take calls right now at 452-2979, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026. And of course, Amanda is already here and she is monitoring the chat room. We might as well trying to find out if we have anything to report in the chat room. Amanda, is it too early to do that?
Just a few comments.
Okay, go right ahead.
And NewsSpin says so SLP say they're winning all 17 seats because the UWP candidates are weak. Another comment reads, he crossed so much he is now an SLP independent candidate. Someone says there, not meet him. Once politicians not working for a constituency, it should be bye-bye for them. Case in point, the two VA4 and the library seats. Another comment reads, King was treacherous. He left his true intentions for the last minute, remember? And NewsSpin says here, and things are still the same, King, with you joining them. The commentary reads, Tim, the bringer of receipts. That's it for now.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for that update. A WhatsApp message reads, what kind of society makes a man think he can just sweep a female off her feet in the middle of town and try to kidnap her? I hope Honorable Richard Frederick condemns this crime fiercely on his show, because this is his constituency and the mom of the victim works for the CCC as well. We cannot allow St. Lucia to become like Trinidad. Her kidnappings are rampant. Police Commissioner God, please note that Constitution Park needs policing urgently. Figure out something urgently between city police, who are not visible at all, and the central police station. It is a busy place and close to Parliament. Let us be strategic with public security. And let me see if I have another WhatsApp message. Somebody says there, You know very well what King would say, like your intro says, according to Dr. Kenny Anthony, never ever be surprised regarding what happens in politics. This would be his answer. We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon, NewsSpin. You are on the air. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Timothy.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Timothy.
Good afternoon to you, caller.
Yeah. Well, Timothy, we stick in that. Was last night I listened to Mr. Vungad. Like I tell you, this is a gentleman I have a lot of respect for. You see, the police officers, they're involved in politician and this and that and everything going and path according to his plan. But Mr. Vungad, I want you to come out and tell us what is going down. When something make the news, especially gun is missing, ammunition is missing, you would like to know the truth. Now, you say one person you have to go to where obviously is the man in charge of him. Mr. Philip J. Pierre, we asking you to come out and say the truth because that's a very dangerous thing. Election is around the corner. Hey, again, like Trinidad already, it is. It ain't no halfway about it. Hey, just like Trinidad, people want to kidnap people big day in the middle of town. You hear anything happen to that? You hear anybody get arrested? It happening. So there is nothing at all we could do. It's just try and pray. Try and stay safe. Go in town and come back at your home. If you don't have nothing to do, stay at your house, lock your front door. Burglar bars all around your house. Some people are getting no water in the country. Wasco messing around. And it is what it is and they're boasting. And the show said the same thing. They go on Baba Green, fix up the road because for independence, they have to go back and dig that same road again. La Ville makes way at it. Dig that same road again to recollect pipe. That is Papi show. If the thing is ready to think, don't do it, leave it so. So there is two sets of money that wasting. There's a lot of things happening in the country and it's just staying. People are talking about it. The hierarchy in authority, they're coming. When they're having meetings, they're coming and say what they're going to do for the country. It's Shasne, that one. Yesterday I was watching them in Parliament. I stayed and watched that in Parliament and I was very disgusted about the way them people going out and doing their things. Let the man speech. Give the man his right to say what he have to say. Once you're going off balance, let him. You only allowed the man 50 minutes. That's very disrespectful, man. The man was a prime minister. Give the man his chance, man. Anyway, Timothy, I'm so very disappointed about what happened this afternoon. We'll talk. Have a good day.
Okay, you too, sir. Thank you so much for calling. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Once again, 716-2026. Somebody says that Tim King didn't cross the floor. He jumped on the floor. We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. You are on the air.
Hello.
Hi. Good afternoon to you, caller.
Good afternoon, Timothy.
Yes, caller. All right. Take care of that feedback in the background for me, please. Turn it off, and then you can continue with your contribution.
I have. I
Yes.
tried to do it before. I didn't connect.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Timothy, I have been. It's a whole 2 months now. I believe I'm listening, but I'm moving around and I've been busy. But I've listened to a lot of things that I want to comment on today. I don't know how much time I have. First of all, the topic of the day is not what I'm going to start with. I listened I think a couple of weeks ago when yourself and Rick had an agreement on every St. Lucian loves St. Lucia. I have not seen any evidence of that. And I have lived for a very long time, even though I have not lived all my life in St. Lucia. When a people love its country, the thing they do is to support the things that keeps the country healthy. It's no different than when you love your family, your children, your wife, your husband. you do the things that will keep them healthy and happy. The majority of St. Lucians do not love St. Lucia. They love what they can get out of St. Lucia. Okay? Their human relationships, the same way. People get into relationships from what they can get from the other person, not what they can give to that other person. If the majority of us love St. Lucia would have been a better place today. And we would not be calling your program to vent our disgust and our unhappy feelings about what's happening in the country. Secondly, we've been talking about democracy. Democracy is a fallacy all over the world. It has made us believe that we have freedom to speak, to express our opinions. And if that was the case, I'll give you an example. What happened in Vieux-Fort earlier after the elections, where the people was, that one lady started a demonstration for St. Jude Hospital. And she was able to encourage other people to come out with her. What happened? The government set the police on these people. And from what I heard, I wasn't here, I wasn't in St. Lucia. I didn't see the video I saw, didn't say much. But the majority of the people there were mostly mature people. If we had a democracy, and what the people were doing was not trying to tear down the government, but asking the government to do something that is worthy of doing. If we had a democracy, the government wouldn't set the police on those people, to the point they got so frightened that they had to stop the demonstration. And the government didn't step in and do the things that the people were asking of the government. Okay. If we also have a democracy, two parties, and I'm talking about all over the world, two parties contest an election. And two different groups of people voted to support either party. When people go out there to support a party to represent a country, they don't go out there to elect an opposition and a government. They go out there to elect a government. And in true democracy, what democracy should be, in my view, everybody who was elected during that campaign, during this election, should be a part of the governing body. There should not be an opposition and a government. Because the people, everybody voted to have these people govern and represent them in the country.
Well, I think what they do.
Is why.
Hold on, caller. I think when you go to the polls, you go to mainly and primarily elect a parliamentary representative. Because as the Constitution says, it is out of that the person who commands the majority of support among the elected MPs who becomes the Prime Minister. So I think the initial thing you do as an individual is to elect the individual you believe who can best represent your interest in the Parliament as an MP.
Well, this is what the people do. Mm-hmm. Whether the side loses or not, the people they elect, the people they feel are capable of representing them at Parliament. Okay? Therefore, when the election is over, whoever is the majority, like you said, from that group, they could choose the main leader, whether it be the president or the prime minister. But that does not exclude the lesser group from participating in the governance of the country. Because once we're going to have opposition and government, there'll be chaos. Especially every day I listen to you, I watch you, I hear other people talk. What is happening in St. Lucia today is bad for the small country like St. Lucia. St. Lucia should not have people who go out there and promise people so much and give them so little, and they refuse to allow the other person who they refer to as the opposition from expressing and speaking out for what is happening at the time. If we as West Indians don't give up the political system that was shoved down in our throats and call it democracy, the Caribbean will become colonized again, and we the people, the proud people of St. Lucia, all those you think, I think, who love St. Lucia, will suffer. We need to have a different form of government. Everybody who runs, everyone the people select or elect to represent them should be part and parcel of the government. And there should be no opposition if we're talking about true democracy. The only place democracy exists in the whole world is in corporations. Where do you hear that a company hires somebody to do a job and the employer turns around and tells the boss what should do and what should not be done? Right? The employer, right? It is the employer can go to the employee and have a conversation, a discussion, a planning, what have you, about how we can further improve the service we give or expand our business. It could not be a one-sided story, right? So why is it now we elect a few people, 17 people to represent, and they are the ones who turn around and tell us, kill it. I don't want to hear it. Where in the corporate world that an employer will tell his boss that I don't want to hear it? Kill it.
Well, caller, we don't want to have a one-party state, caller, where you have one group of individuals.
No, it's not going to be.
Hold on.
Timothy, I'm not talking about a one-party state.
You don't want everyone around the table thinking alike. So you have group thinkers.
No, they will not be thinking alike. Mm-hmm. They will be part of the discussion. It's not a one-party state. The two parties will still exist, but whoever the people elect on either side should be part of the governing system. Right? You're not going to have a one-party state. But once we're going to have opposition, this is a negative word, right? And that we will not get anywhere, Timothy. I thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. 452-2979, WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Let me see if I have a WhatsApp message. It reads there, good day. There is an issue nobody is talking about, the Customs Department. When it comes to refunds, why does it take so long when you pay your money to Customs, but it's a problem to get your refund when you overpay them? Let's see if we have another WhatsApp message to go through. Somebody says there, so if at the time the SLPs were asking Shas if he wanted time, he didn't. What's wrong with asking for time later if you figure you need it? That's what's happening in the chat room. Amanda, anything to report on?
Someone says let's discuss the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Another comment. And now we don't even have pockets to push our hands in. Someone says I have always heard the saying that a thief does not want to see another thief carrying a bigger bag than him. So King pulled Dr. Kenny's hands out of our pockets and he put his own hands. Another comments, the easiest way to lie to the masses is through statistics. This is used by governments, health organizations, etc. NewsSpinner says there, so you're saying, like the PM, that we are the ones making the country look bad overseas, and not the criminals, the poor healthcare, the lack of proper justice, and the corruption from elected officials that are painting the country bad. But the concerned citizens who are calling for a better country are the problem. Now the comment reads, the SLP employment figures is a textbook example of the book, How to Lie with Statistics. Someone says there, not if. St. Lucia does not have a democracy. The problem is that the majority of St. Lucians do not know their rights.
We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you are on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, team.
Hi, good afternoon, Chicola.
In regards to a statement that Healy made and also Sean Edward on Saturday during the SLP meeting.
That's on Sunday.
They are saying to us that if we associate ourselves with Alan Shastney, we are the enemy of progress and the enemy of the state. How rude can these people be to tell me, a supporter of the United States, of the United Workers' Party, and a delegate? Alan Shastney did not put himself there. People like me, as a delegate, who put him there. We wanted him as our leader. So Healy and Sean is out of place to say to St. Lucian who they should vote for. People, this is a democratic island. We can make our decision and choices as to who we want to vote for. You all are out of place. We choose Alan Shastney as the political leader, and we will vote for him. And you will have to put it in your pipe and smoke it, because you all cannot be so rude and out of place to tell people who to vote for. Because we will not call your supporters enemy of the state. We will not do that. Because this is their right to vote for who they want to. So respect our vote. Respect our support. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you so much for calling, ma'am. Let's see if we have another call as we say good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You are on the air. Hello. This call is reconnecting. Let's see if we could give that person a few seconds. Hello, good afternoon.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir. You are on the air.
Okay, great. Tim, I want to agree with the caller before the last.
Mm-hmm.
I think this two-party system has done enough damage to divide us, Tim. And I just want to draw reference to a lecture that was given by a guy called Joseph Patterson from Jamaica. It was a UWI lecture, and the name of his party is I think is UIC, something like that, where he was talking about a non-partisan, constitutional republic, right? So that means no party system. You understand where I'm coming from? And why I totally agree with this, he was drawing a reference and he was making a point, and it's so true. When you have, for example, you have a board, you cannot divide your board of a company and put them against each other and expect your company to flourish, Tim. And that doesn't mean that you cannot have different minds as part of your board. But when you put them against each other, that creates a friction, that creates an atmosphere where people don't want to work with each other. And it's exactly what we have here, where we've been put against each other through this colonial system that was handed down to us. We haven't tweaked it, we haven't changed it, we haven't done anything with it. We've left it as it is. In fact, when constitutional reform comes along, when we spend millions of dollars, what happens to these recommendations for constitutional reform, whereby the people take away the power from the politicians when you have term limits and all different types of things like that? When you have that system that the colonials have left, we can see the level of corruption that it allows. There's not much checks and balances, and we need, like the caller said before the last, we need a new system that can have everybody, not for party, but for country. That is the only way we can move forward. Otherwise, this two-party state, for what, 46 years, will be 50 or even 100 years. We will not be going forward. And this two-party system that people want to put their hope and their trust in will never, okay, do exactly what we want. Because the same problems we have will continue to be. This two-party system, this so-called democracy that we have, that is an illusion that gives people the illusion that they have some kind of control when they don't. We know who controls everything. We know it's outsiders. We know it's the colonials. We know it's the banking system. All of these things will hand it down to us. And unless we wake up and change this whole political system, we will never move forward. Give thanks, Tim.
Thank you so much for calling, sir. Let me see if I have any of your WhatsApp messages. Somebody says there via WhatsApp. Let's see there. Please bear with me. Just trying to get this comment. Communist is showing its ugly head in St. Lucia. St. Lucians, wake up. There's an individual, I assume he had political aspirations. He passed away, unfortunately. He passed away yesterday. And his name is Sam Bowers. I had the opportunity to interview him, and that was in August of 2022 on the DBS Wednesday evening program Newsmaker Live. And they were there to promote a particular grouping. And he was accompanied by Buffalo Odlum. And that individual I'm referring there to is Mr. Sam Bowers, who passed away yesterday. At one time, he was on the board of the National Housing Corporation until he was fired in November of 2021.
Small islands like ours face some critical problems, from climate change to new economic dynamics that are going to make a lot of people suffer if our states do not up their game and improve their structures in order to serve as a buffer for ordinary people. And political parties, the current political parties, have simply become almost what you could term so-powder salesmen. They sell their party. They don't sell the state, the institutions of government, and they don't even think in terms of how they can make the institutions of government more responsive to the everyday life of ordinary people. In that scenario, ordinary people are turning their backs on the state. Some of them are gravitating towards the political parties, but they don't care about the country. They don't care whether the Ministry of Health works. They don't know whether the Ministry of Health works. They don't care whether the police, they don't care whether the firemen. These things are not being given the prominence and the prestige they deserve in order to be able to protect us. And these are the real institutions that protect us. And the political parties have no interest in those institutions. The politicians are interested in gravitating power towards themselves. And that's a very dangerous and frightening situation. Because in the current climate we live in the world, we will need the institutions of the state to protect us.
What do you think is at the heart of the problem? Do you think we do not have an informed or educated citizenry?
Well, to an extent, the political parties have the responsibility to educate the citizens.
Do you think so? Don't you think citizens have a right to know their civic duties, their responsibilities, and therefore they need to take those seriously, as opposed to, it's a case where maybe lions being led by donkeys? No, that's not what it is.
Well, the situation is that, in theory, you expect everybody to be interested and what have you. But the politicians choke out the avenues for getting to know about anything. They don't provide the information. They don't let the civil servants talk to the public. They don't allow people to. There is no access to information legislation in St. Lucia. And so information is kept very close to the people in power, into their chairs. That's very important to them. And so they limit the sort of like, the knowledge of the ordinary man on the street. It's all what the politician says, that's what gets out. And the media plays its part as well. They dominate the media, they have the resources and they have the access to dominate the media. And if it's easy to just leave whole communities out of the political sphere. And that's a very dangerous situation because the people, the state provides them with no protection. To them, they don't experience government as doing something for them or facilitating them in advancing their life. And so they have no interest in that. And so you get a situation whereby they protect themselves with guns, crime, and you have the situations you would get in Bruceville and in Marshall and these areas. Because to them, what is government? What's the purpose of government? It doesn't do anything for them.
sharing his thoughts on politics and politicians in St. Lucia and the fact they are putting themselves and their parties before country. Just heard there from Mr. Sam Bowers, who unfortunately passed away yesterday, and he made an appearance on the DBS program Newsmaker Live August of 2022. Talking about NML Newsmaker Live, I'll be on this evening from 8:30 with another broadcast. This is the most monitored talk show in the world. Still to come, we'll be focusing on the Sovereign Wealth Fund, among other issues.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Lazarus's Funeral Home is here for you. Lazarus's Private Cemetery offers a peaceful resting place for your loved ones. With tranquil settings, visitation, and reflection, we believe in the compassionate care of all our departed loved ones. Lazarus's Private Cemetery, let us help you create a final resting place. Make it special. Make it Lazarus's Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Payment plans are available for tombs. Call us in Vidbuta at 452-7491 or in New Dock Road, VA4, 454-6555.
Lucilac is transforming how you move. With our new electric vehicle charging stations, getting a quick and reliable charge is easier than ever. From Rodney Bay to Dennery, Vieux-Fort and Soufriere, we've got you covered. Our cutting-edge network offers both fast and standard charging options. Convenient, efficient, and always ready when you are. Just download the Flash Charge app from Google Play or the Apple App Store, and with a few simple taps, you can set up an account and link it to a credit card. Find a station or scan the QR code to start charging in seconds. Lucilac is powering your journey and driving us toward a cleaner, greener future. Charge ahead with Lucilac's EV stations. Lucilac electric vehicle chargers, powering progress, energizing the future.
I've seen your hair before, and I have something special just for you.
What have we here?
Happy housewarming to me? That's the MNC Home Depot Rewards Card. You'll earn points every time you shop, plus exclusive savings and promotions just for you.
Just for me?
Yes, just for you. Shop in store or online and enjoy a seamless experience.
So I get to treat myself every time I shop?
Exactly. It's time to reward yourself.
MNC Home Depot and Sunbelt Rewards Card. Sign up and reward yourself today at www.mnchomedepot.com.
You asked for it and you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay. Flow is keeping you connected.
Are you tired of going from doctor to doctor, spending time and money, yet still not getting the answers you need? Now, at La Clinique du Corps Diagnostic Center of Excellence, we bring you the latest in medical technology, our state-of-the-art radiation-free full-body MRI. With unmatched accuracy, we can detect illnesses early, giving you the answers you deserve and the treatment you need, saving lives and saving money. No doctor referral needed. Results in just 24 to 48 hours. Plus, a free consultation with a doctor to explain all your results in detail. Don't wait. Take advantage of this special offer and book your full body MRI at our Cocoville, Rodney Bay, or Castries locations. Call 451-6559 now. La Clinique du Corps, your health is our priority.
Essie, don't tell me that tire flat again. I just changed that tire.
Wait, what? You just changed that tire?
Well, I bought a used one because you didn't give me enough money.
Oh, I see. Well, you know what? Chivi's Tire Shop only carry brand new quality tires at affordable prices with free installation.
Hey, it seems you're working at Chivi's Tire Shop. How you know all that?
Come on, Brenda. The tire shop down the road from our home in the American Drywall Building.
Oh, yes. I forgot. Well, you know what, Patrick? Let's go there right now. Take your wallet. Let's go.
Chivi's Tire Shop, located at the American Drywall Building, Vic Butay. Call or WhatsApp 584-5986. Chivi's Tire Shop. Pay less, drive more.
You know that feeling when you have an uncontrollable desire for fried chicken? That's the KFC. A substance that stimulates your senses to identify the aroma of a secret recipe or an extra crispy crunch from any distance. It's invisible to the naked eye, but you can feel it traveling throughout your body, taking control. All so you can enjoy a juicy bite of KFC. Ignite your senses with KFC.
This is the most monitored talk show in the world. It is called NewsSpin. We continue with your calls. Let's see if we have a call on the line at 452-2979. Once again, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026. We have a call. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Tim. How are you, sir?
I'm okay, caller. Good afternoon to you.
Hi. Tim, you know, yesterday I really shook my head, man. I listened to Ernest there depicting guy. Now I'm not a fan of guy, to be honest, but he's depicting the man and calling him thief. I mean, I would figure that he would kind of keep silent when other ministers are calling names, and so he would keep silent on that, because with all the guys that inside there, he's a
no, caller. I don't think he referred to Mr. Guy Joseph as a thief, as you put it.
Yes.
He might have questioned his integrity and so on, but I don't think he directly made that point.
Yeah, but you know, when you look at it, it boils down to that, you know. I mean, you know, that's why we have sense to be able to depict things ourselves. But what I'm saying is, listen to me carefully. You have all these clouds around you, and he's never been vindicated of none, you know. I mean, I don't know if you remember back in the 80s, National Youth Council. You remember that $40,000 that went unaccounted for when he was there?
All right, caller. Thank you so much for calling. We have to move on. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. What is happening in the chat room, Amanda?
A commentator reads, Healy told a blatant lie about the Sovereign Wealth Fund when he said the Sovereign Wealth Fund does not include hedge funds. That is a total lie. Just like he lacks knowledge of CIP, he shows his total lack of knowledge of a Sovereign Wealth Fund. In addition, St. Lucia does not have the resources to have a Sovereign Wealth Fund. What they are trying to create is an investment fund. And NewsSpin says here, I'm in St. Lucia and this is the best government I've experienced so far. Up to y'all if you choose to be die-hard party hawks. I am a St. Lucia and I live here and I love my country. I don't want Alan Shaftney to put hands on the controls ever again. Get someone else. Commentary reads, your voice and that of many others, the power of togetherness is stronger than those in power. So if you're thinking of making the country better, you must first look in the mirror and start from there, because criticizing those who are airing their voices on what's going on in this country will not help. Someone says here, closing in 4 years of NewsSpin since PJP assumed office in 2021. 5 days a week, fear-mongering, speculating, rumor harvesting and claiming the sky is falling. Yet here we are, St. Lucia is progressing and moving forward. A commentary reads, team time to cut off. Just imagine that we didn't have an opposition with this government. Are you aware of the amount of corruption that would have been taking place? This caller is talking about a communist country, not a democratic country.
The caller, somebody, you just read something, there's a person making reference to the scaremongering apparently by NewsSpin and the sky is falling. And the caller is not paying attention to certain realities. Okay, we're not talking about things that are made up and manufactured. And on this broadcast, for sure, we don't get into misinformation and disinformation. What we have been focusing on, the high crime rate in this country, 77 homicides during the course of 2024. Let that sink in. 77. It is a record. Number of people going out without potable water on a daily basis in the island, to the extent that NewsSpin had to come to their rescue. And we heard their cries and their pleas to the Water and Sewage Company. And my information is they have gotten some water over the last few days. So we're not into scaremongering. It's not about the sky is falling. It is about the reality of the situation in St. Lucia. That is what we are portraying on this broadcast. Any more comments?
Just a few. NewsSpin says Shas is not an enemy of the state. He's an enemy of the shit y'all are doing. Another comment reads, what's going on in St. Lucia has nothing to do with the number of parties the government... With the number of parties, the government just not doing a good job. Stop finding excuses for politicians. Adding more parties will not solve this. That's it, Tim.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Still to come, we have a guest in studio. We'll be focusing on the Sovereign Wealth Fund. That bill was debated in the House of Assembly yesterday. I have a very disturbing problem with the Groseley bus drivers every morning, Monday to Friday. That's a WhatsApp message. It continues. Religiously, the drivers would do shuttle services from town to Shock, and if when they get to Shock, they would load to go Groseley. This is so unjust. Every day, myself and others have to fight to get on a bus. Writing today because my uniform was torn by someone pulling me back. Government or those responsible for the bus system need to improve the public transportation system for Groseley, because tomorrow I will fight back if this situation reoccurs. From an irate passenger. Let's see if you have a call on the landline at 452-2979. Once again, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Again, 716-2026. Do you have a call? We don't. Okay, somebody says there, I'm just reminding Minister Sean Edward and Ernest Hilaire about the Cicero Government Preschool. Let us put the children first. And we have a call. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you're on the air.
Hi, Tim. Good day. How are you doing?
I'm okay, caller. Good afternoon to you.
My Tim, I have been over the past days. I think I tried about 200 times.
We hear that from everyone. So today is your lucky day, sir. Go ahead with your contribution.
Tim, having watched Commissioner of Police in his latest press conference, I am not impressed at all with Mr. Gad. And that's coming from a retired inspector of police. I can see his whole body movement, his whole demeanor. Mr. Gad is very, very uncomfortable there. And he doesn't expect, I don't think he expects me to believe a word in what he said there about the transfer. Tim, let me tell you something. I saw the letter that was given to Mr. Xavier, Sergeant Xavier. That is the exact letter. The only difference in the two letters, Tim, is our names. That's a letter that everybody gets. Once they transfer you, they give you that letter. The only difference is the name on the letter. I got a letter. The last elections was the 27th of July. I got a transfer letter on the 29th of July from the Marshall Police Station. Prior to that, days before that, months before that, leading up to the election, I already knew that I would be transferred after election, should a certain result happen. So, Tim, police officers know that two things that they use on you and they, in the police force: transfers and promotion. You either don't get promoted or you get transferred immediately when somebody requests you transferred. That's not for any development. Xavier was in that post less than 6 months. They gave him a letter prior, the same letter, a different date. This time in his name, because it was to him. The same one, just similar to the one he just got. He got one 6 months prior, less than that. To develop, for further development, they sent him up to where he was now. And less than 6 months, you send him to develop again. The man have worked all in the South. He's from the South. Just because he appeared in a show and he sang a song, the song is not new, Mr. God. I know it's not new. You know it's not new. So don't try to fool people with that kind of comicality you're talking about there. Everybody knows what's going on. You know? The 2 previous transfers you did it, and then you yourself went on leave. Why didn't you call the men in while they were on duty and you were on duty? Why didn't you call them in? You can't face them? You right? Tim, let me tell you something. People are staying silent because they don't know, or they're afraid certain people. They don't want to challenge authority. We're not challenge. Authority is good, but you must use your authority honestly, and you must use it in the right way. You cannot take advantage on people, and because you have authority, they can question you. All the actions taken by the commissioner since his tenure there against officers have been wrong. But how could their officers be vindicated? They have to wait for the same flawed process. Until and unless they bring up the process, they will not be heard. How can you tell an officer who just came from leave, vacation leave, he left 20 or 30 days balance on his record thing? You telling him that a report was made against him and that he should proceed on leave. If you want to send him on leave, give him administrative leave. You can't tell him take his personal leave for you to investigate him. Okay, suppose he had 5 days leave. After the 5 days, he can resume. Thereafter, what are you doing? You're sending him on administrative leave. Tim, you see, those guys are just abusing the process. They know they're not doing what they're supposed to do, but they know it will take you a lot of time before you counter it. So the officers, you're talking about you short of men, you will not. In the last week, Tim, 2 police officers of rank were transferred, asked for transfers out of the force. One was a sergeant, one was a corporal. Taliam is a corporal, Gustav is a sergeant. Xavier is a sergeant. So you're talking about 5 rank officers have left the force. And Mr. God is talking that kind of, I don't want to say a bad word, comicality. You can see in God's demeanor, God is flustered. God doesn't know if to rest his back, if to crawl, if to jump. Kasa, if you deal and manage the force like you have to, that wouldn't happen with no other commissioner. In the last 3 commissioners, although I do have a very strong case for the last 3 commissioners, but I can tell you, I worked with about 10 commissioners in 45 years. 10. And I can pick out 2 in the top of my list those political directives would never come through the phone line. Never, never, never. They would tell the politicians where to go. That's what we don't have. We don't have men with any balls in this country thing. And I can say a lot, but I will stop there. I will stop there for now, but I can say a lot. So tell Mr. God, come better with those lame poor excuses he's coming there with. Come better and manage the force properly. We know you are not 100% experienced. In all the commissioners that I've mentioned him, Mr. Vungard is the least experienced one. And I'm talking about in terms of policing. All right? That's a fact. So tell him come better and stop fidgeting in his administrative duties. Thank you, Tim.
All right, caller. Thank you so much. Let's get an update from Amanda. What's happening in the chat room?
NewsSpin says here, when a government starts to campaign 1 year, 4 months before an election is called, what do you think is happening? They are pitching one against each other. Do we set for war among each other? What we started, it will not be fixed, sorry. The people heading this are over 60 years old and they will not be here to witness the outcome of this foolishness going on. Now the comment reads, the fact that many of you just regurgitate false narratives and do not do your own research is what's really baffling. It's like a repeat of actions of brainwashed individuals during the COVID-19 pandemic. Someone says Harry Hiller should be the last person to question people's integrity. When he was speaking about integrity, what came to mind was the interview on NewsSpin about a Jufali diplomatic passport, NYC, Rovergate, West Indies cricket, joint account, and the CIP. That's it for me, Tim.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Still to come, we'll be focusing on the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Remember, this was the subject of a debate during a sitting of the House of Assembly yesterday. The leader of the opposition is my guest. This is the most monitored talk show in the world.
Lucelec is transforming how you move. With our new electric vehicle charging stations, getting a quick and reliable charge is easier than ever. From Rodney Bay to Dennery, Vieux-Fort and Soufriere, we've got you covered. Our cutting-edge network offers both fast and standard charging options. Convenient, efficient, and always ready when you are. Just download the Flash Charge app from Google Play or the Apple App Store, and with a few simple taps, you can set up an account and link it to a credit card. Find a station or scan the QR code to start charging in seconds. Lucelec is powering your journey and driving us toward a cleaner, greener future. Charge ahead with Lucelec's EV stations. Lucelec electric vehicle chargers, powering progress, energizing the future.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Here's a fun fact. In just 29 seconds, you can say goodbye to paper bills forever. Seriously, in 29 seconds. That's less time than this ad. Head over to discoverflow.co or visit us in-store and update your contact information now. By October 1st, your bills will be digital, easy to access, secure, and hassle-free. So what are you waiting for? This ad still has 2 seconds left, and you could have already gone paperless.
Craving some irresistible KFC chicken? KFC Wow Box has got you covered. For only $22, you get 1 piece of juicy chicken, 1 delicious sandwich, and a side of crispy regular fries. This offer is available at all KFC stores island-wide, and now with both dine-in and delivery options available, you can enjoy your meal however you want. Come into the store and enjoy the KFC experience or have it delivered to your doorstep. Don't wait, order now through WhatsApp at 484-0400 or visit our website, kfcstlucia.com. Don't miss out on this amazing deal. Get your KFC Wow Box today, whether it's dine-in or delivery.
Are you tired of going from doctor to doctor, spending time and money, yet still not getting the answers you need? Now, at La Clinique du Corps Diagnostic Center of Excellence, we bring you the latest in medical technology, our state-of-the-art radiation-free full-body MRI. With unmatched accuracy, we can detect illnesses early, giving you the answers you deserve and the treatment you need, saving lives and saving money. No doctor referral needed. Results in just 24 to 48 hours. Plus, a free consultation with a doctor to explain all your results in detail. Don't wait. Take advantage of this special offer and book your full body MRI at our Cocoville, Rodney Bay, or Castries locations. Call 451-6559 now. La Clinique du Corps. Your health is our priority.
Watch this view here. If you missed it, yeah, itchy nose.
The St. Lucia National Cricket Association Prime Minister's Cup is back. It's going down at 4 venues: PI, Philip Masler Grounds, Groseley, and Mindu Philip Park. Games will be played both day and night. Will the champions Groseley defend their title, or will we see a newly crowned champion this year? Teams taking part: last year's champion Groseley, runners-up Central Castries, South Castries, Babano, Monrepo, Mikud, Soufre, Viewfort North, Viewfort South, Denry, Choiseul, Babia Valley, and Deriso. This tournament bowls off on February 18th with defending champions Groseley coming up against Babano at 7 p.m. on the Groseley playing field. Games will be played from 10 a.m., 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Come out and support your favorite team. It's the St. Lucia National Cricket Association Prime Minister's Cup coming to a venue near you. Who's gonna emerge champions this year?
I've seen you here before, and I have something special just for you. What have we here? Happy housewarming to me? That's the MNC Home Depot rewards card. You'll earn points every time you shop, plus exclusive savings and promotions just for you.
Just for me?
Yes, just for you. Shop in store or online and enjoy a seamless experience.
So I get to treat myself every time I shop?
Exactly. It's time to reward yourself.
MNC Home Depot and Sunbelt Rewards Card. Sign up and reward yourself today at www.mnchomedepot.com.
I think, Mr. Speaker, that there are certain things in this country that men should rise to a level of statesmanship. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that if we understand that our role in this parliament as prime ministers, as members of parliament, well, senators, they sit at the behest of the prime minister, leader of the opposition. We'll understand, Mr. Speaker, that not everything that comes to this honorable house must be made a political football. Hopefully, you can to get some political mileage, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when I was in opposition, we took some principled positions on policies relating to the government. I remember one of them clearly, Mr. Speaker. The St. Lucia Development Bank. I was in opposition, and I said that I don't think that the government should have gone this way. But I said to them, if it's your desire to go this way, have the bank properly capitalized so the bank can perform its functions, Mr. Speaker. We also, when we were in opposition, Mr. Speaker, we said to the government that when it came to borrowing, if the borrowing was necessary, we would have supported it. That was under Kenny Anthony. But, Mr. Speaker, to take a sovereign wealth fund and to poison the heads, the minds of the electorate, Mr. Speaker, on a bill that seeks to create one, put some money aside for climate adaptation. Two, create an atmosphere of intergenerational wealth. Mr. Speaker, not many of us have the luxury of intergenerational wealth. Not many of us. That's a fact. I'm not casting aspersions on anybody or anything or being personal. Not many St. Lucians have intergenerational wealth. Not many St. Lucians, their parents can leave anything for them. But for your parent, for young people in St. Lucia, to have in their minds that when they grow, they must leave something for their children. This is called intergenerational wealth. So you cannot have what the sociologist Beckford calls persistent poverty. And that's good. That is good reading, Mr. Speaker, for any student of sociology. It's a book called Persistent Poverty, where Beckford postulates that people, they born poor and they die poor. It's called persistent poverty, Mr. Speaker. We are saying that the country must set the example of savings.
The island's Prime Minister and Minister with responsibility for finance debating the Sovereign Wealth Fund bill yesterday during a sitting of the St. Lucia House of Assembly, and the leader of the opposition was also part of that debate. He is Mr. Alan Chasney, and he's my guest during this segment. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for appearing on this segment of the program.
Thanks for the opportunity again, Tim.
You heard Mr. Philip GPS say it's time to rise above the fray. And there are some things that should not be politicized. In his estimation, this is one such measure that we all should agree is certainly something that is worthwhile for the country, the Sovereign Wealth Bill.
I certainly have become accustomed to, maybe other people as well, to some of the shenanigans of the Labour Party. And yesterday, it was on full display. So prior to debating this bill, and this bill was supposed to have been debated first, right? I've been sick, but I feel compelled to come out to explain these things. It was debated last because they were still making amendments to the bill prior to the meeting. So the last set of amendments were just handed to us as the debate began, okay? But prior to debating this bill, we debated a bill to go to, on criminal cases, a single judge instead of having a jury, right? And you would have noticed that in the entire presentation, they never once mentioned the work that was done by the previous government, right? We actually had taken that bill literally to where the draft was done and completed, and this is after all of the interviews with criminal lawyers, the regional judicial system, the appeals court went to Bordelais, a series of things. And it was just in draft form. They never mentioned that. Why? Because they think it's a great bill and there's no big issues with it. And we would certainly not deny that because we think that that's going to help, not solve the problem, but it's going to go a long ways in helping the frustration that people are having. And we have other issues. The jury tampering, whether it is through intimidation, whether it's through bribery, whether it's even trying to get people to be jurists. But that pressure is not going to go away, and it's now going to be applied on the judges. And the point I was making in the House was that we needed to have extra security measures being put in place for the judges. But I say that because when it came now to the sovereign bill, they were very quick to say that the previous government, my administration, had actually drafted legislation for a sovereign bill, which was back in 2017. And that's true. But between 2017 and 2021, it was not brought to the House because we established an economic fund. Now, the same economic fund that was supposed to have been established once the CIP program had been done had not been.
And so what role will the economic fund play?
So the monies that are raised by the CIP unit, the question becomes, where should they send that money to? Should they send that money to the consolidated account? Or should they send that to the economic fund? And the economic fund would operate outside of the consolidated fund.
So would that money be invested as well?
It could be. So what happened was that there was an act created specifically to manage the economic fund. And the board members on that fund were always to be, whoever is the director of finance would be the chairperson. Whoever is the chief economist would be on it. Whoever was the head of budget would be on it. A person nominated not by the minister, but by the Attorney General's office, and also a person to be nominated by the private sector. So the minister writes to the different private sector organizations and gets names from the private sector as to who the private sector person should be. So you have an independent board. And you have people, more importantly, Tim, that we know understand the finances of the country. All these terminologies and options that we're going to have, all those persons I've spoken to, the chief economist, the director of finance, the head of budget, would be absolutely familiar with those terms and the different options and the risk associated to those options. So you have proper people running it.
So now you're taking issue with the proposed composition of the board of directors for the Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Well, the first issue that I have is to ask, why are we doing this? Because if you have an economic fund, and we've agreed that the CIP money is supposed to go in there, right? The things that the Prime Minister says that are the intentions of the fund. So it says here, the purpose of the fund is to increase savings to build national resilience in accordance with the climate change adaptation policy. So the World Bank and the IMF have said that countries like St. Lucia, small island developing states, should have in reserve 4% to 8% of their GDP set aside in case you have a catastrophe, whether it be COVID, whether it be a hurricane. So you don't have to borrow money, right, to resolve the problem. 4% would be about $110 million. 8% would be about $220 million US dollars, is what you should have in reserve. And the Economic Fund was doing that. The Economic Fund held the money, so it didn't become part of the consolidated money. So it was not being used to pay salaries. It's not being used to pay utilities. It's not creating a false impression of wealth within the country, right? And more importantly, it said that if in fact you were going to use the money, you had to use the money either to reduce the debt of St. Lucia, because that would be of a significant help, or you can lend money to government agencies that are undertaking infrastructure work. So if we believe for resilience building that we have to build a bigger dam, if we believe that we have to build deeper drains, if we believe that we should put utility wires underground, whatever we think that are capital projects to help mitigate against the impact of a hurricane, those monies could be used either in the form of a grant to government or in the form of a loan, of a soft loan to government. Because by making it a loan, Tim, it means the value of the wealth of that money remains. Okay, and you're actually using that now. All those mechanisms were there. So number one can be achieved. The number two was fund social and economic development in accordance with climate change adaptation. Again, the money was there. Once government identified what those programs were, there was nothing that was stopping you or preventing you from accessing the funds with the approval of those board members, okay, to do that work. The next one was to support the development objectives of government, including the long-term economic and social development of St. Lucia. The Economic Fund can achieve that easily. Now, the government has now chosen, and that's what I have an issue with, why would we now take the money from the Economic Fund, because that's what this bill is saying, that they're going to take the money from the Economic Fund and put it now into the Sovereign Fund, okay, to a new entity. And listen to this. There's going to be 9 board members. And every single board member is going to be nominated and approved based on the advice of the minister.
And that would be the Minister of Finance.
Correct. And in this case, the author of this sovereign bill is Wayne Gerard, who is in the Ministry of Finance. So every time I'm looking at it, I'm not looking at Philip Pierre, I'm looking at Wayne Gerard as being the person who is going to select all 9 board directors.
And what is wrong with that?
Well, let me say this to you. Then there is a corporate secretary. The corporate secretary, I can go to it here. Corporate secretary, committees. Sorry, Tim. I want to make sure I read it correctly. The corporate secretary is selected on the advice of the minister, right? Then there is what's called a custodian. And the custodian is selected on the advice of the minister. Then there is an investment manager, and the investment manager is selected on the advice of the minister. Now, when this says the advice, it means there's no consultation. Whoever the minister tells you, that's who you put. Okay? Now, the Prime Minister, spoke about the Santiago Protocol for Sovereign Wealth Funds. So there was a big international meeting which established some basic criteria that you should have in place. And one of them is this checks and balances. So here it is, the 4 sets of people that are supposed to be watching over each other are all appointed by the same person. All by the same person.
And you're saying that this is unacceptable?
Absolutely unacceptable. This is corruption. Okay? This is poor governance of the highest magnitude to do that. Now, I want us to understand why this is so important. Let me just read something that's very, very important, Tim, because you have to start understanding and appreciating the role of some of these people.
But when you bring up issues of that nature, concerns of that nature, as realistic as they are, don't you think that they're getting lost in the realm of you being partisan, as opposed to those issues being raised by civil society? So if you're going to set up such an entity, shouldn't it be, for example, proposals coming from private sector interests, for example, the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce and so on? And if those agencies, those entities are not speaking out, do you think that the ordinary man in the street will give credence to what you're suggesting or the line of argument that you're presenting?
So this document was presented the first time in the House 2 weeks ago. And it came back. When I called up the chamber, there'd been no consultation. I called up some friends of mine who are lawyers, no consultation. Manufacturing Association, civil society, there's no consultation. Okay? And sadly, we keep giving significant amount of credence to the word or the opinion of civil society. But I keep on saying this. The Chamber of Commerce has one employee, Brian Louisi. How long has Brian been there? And after Brian, it's a couple of secretaries. Right? So we think of the chamber, and we think of all these business people on the chamber, but ultimately the secretariat itself is weak. Hotels Association, one senior person and secretaries.
Yes, but together in terms of the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, you have so many people who are making up the body.
Yeah, but
in terms of the membership.
Yeah, let's look at that. So it means that the secretariat would have to first do a review of this and to opine on it, create a meeting to take place, and all those persons coming to the meeting would have had to have read it in their busy schedules. You follow me? The Bar Association does not even have a paid secretary. But I want to say this to you, okay? The nuances in here require legal opinions. The job of the leader of the opposition and the job of the opposition parliamentarians is to point out the weaknesses, okay? Because our job is to collectively in Parliament strengthen legislation. Sadly, under my administration as well, okay, it's very rarely that the opposition makes an opinion that the government accepts it, unless there is a glaring thing. I remember when we were bringing in the hotels bill and Hilaire had brought up some issues, we stopped it. No. Okay, we came back months later with the amended version. So there are occasions where we would listen, but most part, they don't.
But regarding the checks and balances that you made reference to, I remember interviewing Mr. Richard Pidekin, retired chartered accountant, and he also was suggesting that there should be people who have the level of independence that could provide the due diligence with regard to the Sovereign Wealth Fund. So you're saying right now that is absent with the minister now, those people being appointed on the advice of the minister.
So here's the big one. The custodian. The board shall, on the advice of the minister and cabinet, appoint by instrument in writing on terms and conditions the board, on the advice of the minister and cabinet, determines a custodian for the fund. So not only is the minister going to advise who the custodian is, The minister is also going to provide the terms of reference of that person. Now, here's the danger. A custodian appointed under subsection 1, which is what I just read, holds the property of the fund in the name of the custodian, or if the board authorizes, in the name of one or more nominees. So what does that mean? We transfer the monies that we have, and nobody knows how much money we have in the economic fund. Do you know?
No, I'm not aware.
So in 5 years, there's been no audited audit of the economic fund and no annual report, as prescribed in the Act. Okay, now that's the same thing here. It says that there's going to be an annual audit and report. We've seen it with the CIP board as well, where it's supposed to be. What is the penalty when they don't do it, Tim? How is it that monies that belong to us, the people of St. Lucia, are in the economic fund and we don't know how much money is in the economic fund? Okay? So we're going to take whatever money is from the economic fund, transfer it to a fund that's going to be managed by 9 people selected by the minister. The corporate secretary, very important position, minutes of the meeting, make sure all the governance issues are being done, is also selected by the minister. The custodian, not only is the custodian, but their terms of reference, and also the investment manager says, subject to the subject 2, the board shall, on the advice of the minister, appoint one or more investment managers. All going to be appointed by the minister. Okay? The money transferred into the account, and immediately upon getting into the account, it's going to be now put into the name of a custodian selected by the minister.
Now, there's no denying that this legislation will go through.
It has gone through.
Right.
Well, it has to go,
through the Senate.
Yes.
Yes, and then to the Governor General. But what is the recourse? What is the recourse that you have as the leader of the opposition?
I came out, and it's not about me saying that I have to be satisfied that I did my part. I alerted everyone. I sent this document to several different organizations. Nobody's had the time to go through it in the detail. It comes to the House. I took my time to do a presentation, not to call anybody names, okay, but to focus specifically on this issue and the concerns that we have. And I sat there and waited for the rebuttals. So first of all, I was extremely disappointed that in particular Wayne Gerard would not have spoken before me. Because if he's the author of this, it would have been good for him to have made the presentation, because maybe he would have had answers to some of these questions, and I could have not asked them. But he didn't. They forced me to go, because if I had not gone, the minister, the Speaker of the House, would have closed the debate.
Is it the Speaker, or then in this case the Finance Minister?
No, the Speaker. That's he put.
The Speaker would have,
if nobody puts on their light, he closes the debate. Okay? Now, if they close the debate, what does that say about what all the things I said before? So I'm forced to go. Right? I would have thought that after I said what I said, that they would have taken their time to address these issues. No one did. Instead, Wayne Gerard wants to come up with some story about how I approached him to run for United Workers' Party. And I offered him money or whatever to run for us. Okay? And went further to...
Supposedly during the...
2016 election. And then went further to say that I told him that he was not the right pedigree to be a United Workers or a FLABO. So let me put this straight. I never approached Wayne Gerard to be a candidate for United Workers' Party. If I remember correctly, he approached United Workers' Party, but we had already taken Dominic Fady as our candidate. And if by chance I had said something of the likes of what he said, that he wasn't the right pedigree, what I would have said is that he didn't have the right integrity. Because Wayne Gerard, even in 2016, was looked at suspiciously because of his involvement in the Freedom Bay scandal. You would remember that, where pensioners' funds money from the UK was used to purportedly build a hotel. Now, what scares me about this, and is Wayne Gerard's involvement in all of this, is the custodian that I believe that they're going to hand select is going to be Robert Whittam or somebody associated to Robert that was involved and put with the architects of the Freedom Bay project. Versus that there should be a bidding process. There should be a standard that's established. Going out to bid, an independent group of people approving who the custodian is going to be. Right? None of that. But instead of answering those questions that we've brought up, instead, Alan is this and Alan is that, and I have files on Alan. 4 years you have files on me? My gosh, man. Stop with the games and the charade. Right? What does that have to do with the bill? Whatever issues you have with me or concerns you have with me is separate and apart from an important piece of legislation like this. Now, you asked me a very important question. If this goes through, which more than likely it will go through, it means that if in fact that they proceed, and I feel strong enough, which I do, then I would have to try to again file a case and determine whether in fact this is actually legal. People, because it's written in law coming out of Parliament does not make it constitutional. Right? And there is a part of the law which is called malfeasance. Malfeasance is when something is set up deliberately to defraud. So it becomes so obvious, right, that the checks and balances are eliminated. So when we talk about the Galaxy contracts, because I've challenged it for malfeasance, does it make sense that a contract was amended for a hotel that's supposed to cost $300 million, and they had approved in the contract $210 million of CIP funds? Does it make sense to you that they would have increased the allocation to $1 billion US? And there's no change in the size of the hotel. And when you look today, after 6 years, they've only spent $10 million US. Does that make sense on the surface of it? And then now, to go and make Galaxy a promoter and pay Galaxy a commission on the hotel project, and the commission they're paying them is exactly the same amount as the administrative fee. And that was another issue I brought up yesterday. So if in fact the intent of this sovereign bill is for putting a reserve of money, ideally $220 million US set aside, right, for a bad day, and to facilitate the investment of building resilience for climate change in our country, and having assets that our future generations can benefit on, because if things are not good, there's some money that can hold us, right? Then the economic fund achieves all those things, and there is no need for the sovereign fund. But what's concerning to me, and should be concerning to all solutions, is we're seeing this. We saw, why did we do the deal with GPH, Tim? Why did we agree that we were going to increase the head tax to $12 and turn around and give GPH $10? Why? Can you imagine what SLASPA could have done with $10? Look what SLASPA was doing with $2.50. Imagine what SLASPA would have done with $10. Okay? So if we look at the CIP program, we now know for a fact, we don't have to be guessing because the minister never gave us the answer. When we asked him, how many files did you give Galaxy? He told them, oh, we need to go and check with Galaxy if they'll give us permission. Well, the contracts came out, and we know that in the case of the hotel, they got 5,000 files. And in the case of the infrastructure program, 6,000. So just on the administrative fee alone, Tim, which is anywhere between 15 and 30,000. So let's take 20,000 in the middle, all right? On 500,000 files at $20,000 per file is $100 million US should be in the economic fund. It's not, because the government gave the $100 million US to Galaxy. Then on the infrastructure program, they gave them 6,000 files, of which we're supposed to get 100,000 US per file. Plus we're supposed to get the administrative fee of 20,000. But we're not going to get it, because the same minister in the contract has allowed Galaxy to collect all of the $100,000 themselves. And the only money that's eventually going to make it to the coffers is the administrative fee. So 6,000 files times $20,000, $110 million US is what should be in the economic fund. I don't think it's there. And if in fact that money was there, isn't it better to have just kept that money and we would have accomplished all the three things we have? Why are you bypassing the economic fund? Why are you doing this fund? And then it brings into question the lack of proper governance. It has to be scary to all of us what's taking place. I'm sorry, Tim.
What we'll do right now is to take at least 2 calls and conclude the broadcast. Once again, during the segment, my guest is the leader of the opposition and former Prime Minister, Mr. Alan Shastney. We are discussing the Sovereign Wealth Fund bill, which was debated in the island's House of Assembly during the course of yesterday. And you've heard some of the issues highlighted by Mr. Alan Shastney. I don't know whether you have any calls or any questions for him within the next 10 minutes or so as we continue our discussion on this. Let me see. I see somebody has a WhatsApp message. The person says the issue of the custodian is very important. The appointment should ideally be governed by a procurement process. There should be term limits for the service, limits for the size of the fund, and arrangements in place for appointing a second or third custodian. The latter is to mitigate the risks. Clearly, okay, we have a call. Good afternoon to you. We have a call on the line. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Tim.
Yes. Quick question or comment, sir?
Good afternoon, Mr. Shastney.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I think that this particular bill should be given the kind of exposure that it needs. And I'll tell you why. Because I've noticed you said that you will only take 2 calls. Have you ever heard of the One Malaysia Development Limited? Have you ever
No, I haven't. I haven't, sir.
That was a sovereign wealth fund that was created by the government of Malaysia back in 2009 with the strategic the strategic intention of promoting economic development in Malaysia through global partnerships and foreign direct investment. That sovereign wealth fund, in actual fact, right now, is infamous for the extent of the massive corruption and money laundering. To the extent that the Prime Minister of Malaysia, I think, is now in jail somewhere because of all the corruption that stemmed from that. And that corruption stemmed from the massive insufficient attention to pay to internal controls and governance. And I don't think that we should not look at these things when we speak about things like that. Now, this thing started in 2009, and the only way it broke in 2015, I think, was when that fund missed a payment of $550 million, and then all sort of, like, if you want to put it crudely, all hell broke loose. Because this thing eventually spread right across the world. There was involvement in offshore companies in the BVI, in Switzerland, in America. The Department of Justice kicked in. There was a massive scandal. A lot of the funds were used to purchase luxury goods, private jets, jewelry. Everything went where the money shouldn't have gone. And I think that we have to learn from these things when we come across situations when we have several wealth funds being created. Now, when you look at that fund, there are some things in there called red flags, which is some things that a lot of people here seem to avoid addressing. And the red flags are, one of the major red flags is the total control, if you will, over the management structure of the entity by one person, the Minister of Finance. And if you put that in a corporate sense, if you have a managing director or chairman of a board who has that kind of control over an entity, it is a huge red flag. And there's another massive corruption scandal that took place a few years ago, and that is Enron. Because Enron was dominated by that particular CEO, and we all know where when even an accounting firm got blown away in the midst of the scandal. So we know we cannot just walk away from these so-called red flags.
If I can ask you one question, sir. If I remember correctly, in the Malaysian scenario that you've given, the same Minister of Finance appointed the custodian, and the custodian was his son-in-law.
It was and that's another sort of red flag we're talking about. When we have this intertwining of offices with family, we have a serious issue there, right? And so one of the big red flags we have here again is, even when I got this bill, there was no mention of a forensic audit in it. But the one that went through the House yesterday, there's a forensic audit being done every 3 years.
Correct. And the forensic audit is not to be made published. It was a forensic audit to the minister.
That's what I was about to get to. But the thing is, a forensic audit, if you go in blind for a forensic audit, you probably will find nothing, because inevitably it involves a lot of collusion with senior people. So when you have a forensic audit, you have nothing to nail on. Where do you start? And to compound it now, this forensic audit is not being aired for the whole world to see. It's been given to one specific person, and that person, by virtue of the power within the bill, has the authority, if you will, to suppress that report, and we are no better for it. I thought, frankly, after listening to the debate yesterday, that the government would have withdrawn the bill, so that civil society now, having heard a different angle from it, from the pie in the sky that was being sold to the public, but having heard the downsides of it if it isn't done properly, I would have expected the bill to have been withdrawn. And I'm surprised now to hear that this bill is going on to the upper house. I'm very disappointed with that. But Tim, I think we need to facilitate discussion. We aren't getting sufficient, in my mind, we are not getting sufficient input from civil society in respect of things which could be potentially damaging to our country. Now, I understand that a lot of people, and I get this more and more when I speak to people, these things are getting so complex that people just do not understand what is going on. It is for that reason we have to slow down and make sure people understand what is required, so that they can buy in to the sort of controls and that we are on safeguards or guardrails, as some people prefer, that we can put into these structures, so that the funds are directed where they should be. And let us stop attempting to criticize the persons who are urging us in that direction. I am very unhappy about this at this particular moment in time, in that there are people within the community that are not speaking out. And one of the things that always disturbed me in the Banan Bay affair, I remember that we had a valuation from somebody in relation to the land. Now, a valuation is useless if it is not from an independent party. But that valuation was done by somebody who was not independent. And we saw that same situation back when I remember a piece of land up in the Union area was being offered as security for a borrowing for Helena Corporation. The valuation by it was done by someone closely associated with the ruling party at the time. And if you remember, Rick Wayne lost his head when he asked questions for more information. We have to be very careful, Tim. There's no speed required in all of this. What we need is thoroughness. We need to put in the appropriate controls, the appropriate governance structures. And for the little influence that I have, I would urge that the government thinks again and withdraws this bill, so that civil society can get an opportunity to come up with meaningful comments, etc. and so on. Otherwise, we are doomed in a sense.
And let me say this: what
Thank you so much.
Just said, which is, I want us to really appreciate this point. In the case of Malaysia, it was after years and billions of dollars was lost that they went to now to try to recover it. Too late. St. Lucia does not have that kind of money to have that luxury to do that.
We will take one final call if you care to. You can call right now, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Once again, 716-2026. In the meantime, let me see if I have any WhatsApp messages I could go through regarding this. Somebody says there, excellent comments by this last caller. There is undue influence by the minister as proposed. The governance issues are also very important. It is really necessary that we slow this bill down. Audit must be public and annually by an independent firm. It must be withdrawn. And that's a WhatsApp message.
And again, my point is the government failed yesterday in the House, in my opinion, to convince me of the weaknesses, the governance weaknesses in this bill, but more importantly, why everything that they're saying that they want to achieve can be already achieved through the economic fund. Sovereign wealth funds, Tim, come about when a state generates extra income. So if you have oil, the extra money you're going, Norway, etc., they put it into a fund and they invest that money to make sure that the value of that money remains intact. And it's not eroded through inflation.
But couldn't the monies accrued through CIP be included, deposited into the sovereign wealth fund?
That's what they intend to do.
All right? And then now that money can be invested.
Okay, but if in fact that you're going to hold money aside for a bad day, you can't have it allocated. So in the case of the sovereign fund, they intend to put it into hedge funds, they intend to put it into bonds or other investments. That means it's not liquid. Okay? Now, there has to be a balance. So this is, I even asked the question, are you telling me all of the money from the economic fund is going to go here? What's the criteria? How much of the economic fund is going to go in there? So if there's a certain amount of money you already have acquired, let's say we've accumulated $200 million in the economic fund, and we feel that that's more than enough. So it means any money that comes above and beyond the $200 million can be invested? Okay. Now, to invest the fund, really, those are the same people, the director of finance, chief economist, etc., that can bring in an investment firm and get advice from them as to where we can invest the money. You don't need to go through all of this. The problem with this, Tim, is that this is giving the illusion to the public of St. Lucia that this is good and the governance structure, the checks and balances are good and we should trust it. But the reality is they're not good. It's giving too much discretion to the minister. Now, here's the problem I have. Take Ernest Hilaire, Minister of CIP, Minister of Investment, Minister of Tourism. The Attorney General, we all know this, was his personal lawyer, and he's the Attorney General. The Attorney General who's supposed to be vetting all of these contracts, vetting all of these pieces of legislation. His other lawyer was Lawrence Theophilus. And Lawrence Theophilus is the chairman of CIP. Up to today, we only heard by the bye-bye that he's resigned, but there's no letter, there's nothing official that he's resigned, so I can't accept that he's gone. Thaddeus Antoine, who is his other lawyer, is an agent and is also the lawyer for BMAX, the lawyer for Galaxy, and the lawyer for GPH. And then now, the Ministry of Economic Development, which is supposed to be doing all of this infrastructure works, correct? Because it's not going to be done through the Ministry of Infrastructure. It's being done through the permanent secretary in the Economic Development is Ernest's brother. Now, I know that we're supposed to say that people who get into these key positions, which are no longer private positions, these are government positions, they're not representing Ernest, they're supposed to be representing us. The Attorney General is supposed to be looking and vetting laws and contracts based on the laws of St. Lucia and to protect the interests of the people of St. Lucia. Lawrence Theophilus is the chairman of CIP, is supposed to work in the best interest of them. All of these people, can we trust, given the relationship that we know that has existed between all of these people for all of those years and how the Labour Party in itself operates, that they're going to work in the best interest of the people of St. Lucia? Now, that doesn't mean that they can't come up with a good program, but yesterday, I believe I've pointed out, and that's why I'm on your show today, to reiterate to the public of St. Lucia, the major problems legislatively in this bill, which gives one person too much control. And from me to attack it legally becomes much more difficult because now you have to prove that there's malfeasance. Okay? And malfeasance has a higher threshold than following the law.
We have a final call. Rick Quinn is online. Good afternoon to you, Rick. You are on the air.
Bye. Tim, I listened to all of this in the House yesterday. I listened to the leader of the opposition today. And I feel sorry for St. Lucia. I personally do not feel equipped to make any serious, useful contribution on that debate going on there because I think it requires some expert minds, people with track record, etc., to adequately inform the people of St. Lucia, 90% of whom I am prepared to say do not understand what's going on there. And it's no shame. This is specialty stuff.
Yeah.
This is stuff for experts. And we have a bunch of people who have no such record themselves, except that we have given them a power to do whatever they want, whenever they want, how they want. A number of the parliamentarians I listened to yesterday, and it was very interesting yesterday to see what a quiet session can look like. But even that had to end up crazy, even in its quietness. I learned nothing except that we are forced to take whatever the eyes say, and that's it. I really wish we could have some people bold enough to seriously, and you know, the time given for discussion of those things is another subject again. No minister of government, no finance minister, no permanent secretary will come on a show with the sole purpose of explaining to Mr. Ordinary Joe Blow, including Dom Rick Quinn, what is involved here, so that I can understand it, so I can come to reasonable deductions. That's not my field. It's not my field. Neither is it the field of most St. Lucians. I heard a caller call there a while ago, and I do remember the examples he offered there. But since, again, it's not my field, my son is very good at that stuff, and I wish he was around to be able to do some of that. He's an expert on that. So the point I'm making, Tim, is most St. Lucians can't even offer a reasonable opinion of what's going here, and we're like sheep being led to the slaughter. I'm not saying what the government is doing is good or bad, except, of course, I am all for what I've always stood for, clarity, accountability, and not venomous accountability, accounting with a view to keeping people informed as to what's going on. And it's not as if we have a great record. Our record sucks for all administrations to one degree or another in terms, and that's why that phrase is mine, you know, by the way, transparency and accountability. And it was there from the time of Compton. It's not new. Okay? That's when it was first introduced. I did in the time of Compton. So that's how important it is to run a democracy where people understand and people can make informed decisions. And when people support you, they support you with their soul and with good intentions for the country. As it is now, we support things depending on our party, who is in office, who is not in office. We all lose in this game, Tim. So that thing requires a lot more discussion, and not just the appearance of consultation, which I've said before, is just the illusion of inclusion. Because you can't go discussing with carpenters things that are not their bailiwick at all, and then come away saying you consulted. This requires proper consultation. It requires such experts as we have here to voice opinions pro or con. The one thing I'm definitely worried about and disturbed about is this propensity for politicians to just say, man, you follow it. So that they go on faith. We say it, therefore it's true. And it will be defended by the faithful, regardless of whether they get it in the neck. I hope I make some sense there.
Yeah, but and you're speaking then, somebody comes to mind. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. I could think of Jeff Stewart. I could think of Mr.
Jeff Stewart, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there are people like Richard Peterkin, and I'm calling him out.
And Mr. Peterkin, yes.
My friend Richard Peterkin, I think, could tell us a lot about that. And there are others like him. He just comes to mind.
Because, Rick, if you remembered, just about maybe 3 weeks ago when this thing first surfaced, I spoke with Mr. Pitterkin, and he said that every indication must be given that this thing is well supervised and you have people who are independent so that this thing could be properly policed and managed.
Did you laugh? Did you laugh when he said independence?
No, I didn't. No.
Because, sadly, there are not many people we believe or have reason to believe are independent, There are not many people who we can sit down and say, I have good reason to think it. Because all you have to just scratch the surface, and you will find they're not independent at all. You see, and it's very sad to have a country where people cannot speak from a position where most people trust what they have to say. Because they're independent people. Huh?
And let me say this. So, let me just say this one point, Rick. We have continuously been satisfied in the past.
I can barely hear you.
Okay, listen on the radio or via Facebook or YouTube.
I'm hearing now.
You can hear now? Okay.
I might have to say something else.
All right.
Okay. I'm saying that we have learned, sadly, to accept, to your point, whatever has been given to us, even though history has shown the flaws in that. So if you take 2 checks and balances that Richard Peterkin spoke about, one is that there's going to be an annual report with an annual audit, correct? Yeah. In the CIP program, the audit is only of the working operations of the CIP unit, but does not include the escrow account. Okay? In this bill, I asked in the House, right? Is the audit going to include the custodian? So if the majority...
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Because you see, we all pay in the end for what we have allowed to become
the norm,
ritualistic,
yes,
and the culture. Is there any government department that is up to date with its audited accounts that you can tell me of, up to date with it, which is supposed to be reports, finance reports, and other reports are supposed to be up to date, not 4 years backward or 3 years backward, and meanwhile we are borrowing or doing whatever as if we are up to date. Can you tell me one department of government, in your time or any other time, that has ever been up to date in its reporting to Parliament, which is to say reporting to the people as CEOs of their business?
In my time, multitude of departments.
I beg your pardon?
In my day, a multitude of departments, including CIP.
Does a multitude of departments mean all?
No.
But that's what I was asking.
No.
But
let me just say, I want to agree with you, and that is the problem. Because it's here and it says it should be done, what's the consequence when they don't do it?
The point is, Alan, it is not being done, and all the politicians are responsible for where we are, and the people of the country are taking it in the neck as they deserve, because we have never stood up for up-to-the-minute accountability. And this matter of accounts pending is a crime. It's breaking the rules. It's breaking the law. And we don't stand up for that, except when it gets against us. But as now, we have a serious problem facing us of accountability, a serious problem of lack of information, a serious problem of cowards who will not speak their minds, and they will only give you balanced out stuff. Well, if the sun shines, then we will feel warm. But that crap, useless kind of analysis by guys who know they are offering useless analysis to people who don't even understand when they put their useless analysis in the most simplistic fashion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Rick.
I'm angry with all of St. Lucia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Final comments from you, Mr. Shasney.
I think that this bill, and sadly your own observations as to how much interest persons may have in something like this, but when we're talking about 200, 300, possibly 400 million US dollars of St. Lucian monies extracted at a time when we really need it to build roads, that we really do need it to fix our hospitals, when we really do need it to support our farmers, when we really do need it to provide more scholarships. So when we look at the NLA scandal and people want to just dismiss that, $80 million has gone missing. And meanwhile, the people who are going to pay the price for that $80 million loan is the young people. So $800,000 a month is being paid by the NLA to facilitate this loan of where we don't know where the money went to. And so who's paying the price? It's the young people in this country. The parents who call me, who they don't have enough money to send their child to go to a tournament so they can qualify to get a scholarship to go to university. People who are looking for money to get a proper education or to get better training and skills. $800,000 a month. And when we're talking about now, we're talking about 300 million, 200 million US dollars. So close to $1 billion EC dollars, 1,000 million EC dollars is going to be taken away, put into the hands of 9 people selected by the minister, and immediately put in the name of a person, a custodian, who is selected by the minister. And that custodian is going to be advised by an investment manager who is going to be selected by the minister, and that the board minutes and everything else, the governance are going to be overseen by a corporate secretary selected by the minister. So what are we going to do? Wait for all the money to go and then say, oh, there was something wrong and they were just corrupt? No, we have to stand strong. And I agree with Rick. I'm appealing to all those persons who want to sit on the sideline and say they're not going to get involved in politics and these are 2 politicians. Go read it for yourself. Don't allow your sentiments about politics to get in the way of good governance. That's all I'm asking. And when I sit in the House and instead people want to make mépris with me instead of dealing with what the issues are that are affecting the people of this country, and we accept that, we can laugh at it and say, oh yes, they said that about Chasney or said this about Chasney. Okay? That's not acceptable. And I'm saying to you that if this bill goes through and they proceed to enact this bill and transfer monies from the economic fund, which should not happen, but legally can now happen based on what is going to be passed, legally can happen, we're in trouble. And I think that this country will continue to spiral downwards because the priorities of this government are about themselves and their comrades. And sadly, it's not about the average person in this country. And I think that when I wear my other hat as a leader of the United Workers' Party, I believe the United Workers' Party has a successful track record from its inception. I'm proud of what we were able to achieve in the last 5 years, including overcoming COVID. I think that the economic success that we have today is in a large part based on what measures we put in place. Yes, we are the ones who believe that tourism can come back. The Prime Minister said he didn't believe it. He said we're the only ones who believe that tourism can come back. Today you want to tout tourism? Really? As being the driving force behind construction? The driving force behind agriculture? The driving force behind economic growth in our country? And you admitted that you didn't know and didn't understand even though you were the Minister of Tourism? We're seeing one set of lies after another. A minister who cannot answer the questions as to what happened to our CIP funds. And we, the people, are not holding this government sufficiently accountable to what they're doing. But I'm hoping, and I can get the sense on the ground, and speaking to many of you, people have made up their mind, and we want to change. And on that basis, Tim, I want to say to the people of St. Lucia, we have most of our candidates in place. In fact, we pretty much know who all our candidates are going to be. Come May, they will make the final announcement, and United Workers' Party is ready to govern this country and to make sure that we can put this country back on the right track. I thank you.
Thank you so much for being my guest on this afternoon's NewsSpin program. Somebody says via WhatsApp, history teaches we must make the corrections now. Withdraw the bill. So let me just say to the government ministers, those people are presiding over our affairs. It's very often that we have Mr. Alan Chasney on this broadcast via invitation, and I'm literally and publicly clamoring, begging, pleading for you to also appear on this program to give your side of the story. I don't want anyone to get the impression that I'm only facilitating the leader of the parliamentary opposition, Mr. Alan Chasney. The door is also open to those of you in the government, the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Investment Minister, Agriculture Minister, Youth and Sports Minister. You're all welcome on this program to also address the issues that of concern to members of the public. You were elected to represent their interest, and we expect that you could use this medium as well to account to the people and to communicate with them directly. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this broadcast. Join me this evening at 7 o'clock for the DBS News World and 8:30 Newsmaker Live. Goodbye.